Well, it's me, Brian. It's bomber time. You guys know what that means. It's time for discussions with Noy. Since you missed the last one, Noy, I might as well, put you in the title introduction, so that you catch it this time. I'm sorry, the last one was kind of like offbeat, but let's pick it back up with where we, kind of left it off. We left it off with the 12 officers, remember? And I said that Nag Saad was going to be the next video in line. Now Nag Saad, she played a unique part in all of this. Right now, you have to keep in context the order in which the officers were in. Each one of them had a royal number. Right, Anu was 50. Right, and Sam, Enki was 40. Enlil was 30. Right, Nag Saad was 20. And then there was another one that was 10 that I can't say his name. Right, Sam, right, but he was a family, like a cousin or something, I don't know, he was the officer that was in charge of the ground excavations and stuff, like the chief mining dude, right, okay, now they were the Anu, Enlil, Enki, Nag Saad, and the mining engineer were the family members of the mission. And then the rest of the officers were, hired officers or people that work for Anu, back on the home planet, right, where he was king at. Yeah, I ain't even smoked one yet. I'm just getting started. I just finished doing pellets to the house. Say hi, Doobie. Right, anyways, Nag Saad, right, she was the medical officer. Slash, science officer, because Enki was the real, Mr. Spock. Right now, she was in charge of before, when they first got there. What her job was she was the doctor for them. Remember, there's like 500 of them. 400. I think. Well, wait, there was like 439 of them all together. Right. Like with the crew of the spaceship. Right. And she was there to do research and to understand, right, the environment of Earth inside the envelope of the atmosphere to see if they could adapt, to living on Earth because of the time shift and the environment. You know what I'm saying? So she was already set up to do a whole bunch of scientific experiments and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And research, because she knew, right, of all of them, she was the one that understood the time shift thing the most. Right? And she knew that they were capable of staying on our planet for thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even as, millions of years, and they would have a life expectancy, a normal life expectancy back home on their planet, 100, 200 years, whatever it was, down here, that would multiply exponentially. Right? You know what I'm saying? Right? Because, you got to remember, the time shift is 3,600 to 1. Our planet revolved around the sun 3,600 times before their planet made one. Right? You understand? And as long as they were outside the envelope of Earth, right, they were still running in their own time frame. Right? The time shift doesn't come into effect until you go down the gravity well of a planet and you get to the bottom, and gravity plays, gravitational spin and all that stuff plays a very huge part in the time shift thing, right? Now, they were probably here by themselves, we were, humans were here, hominids, and all the different species, Australopithecus, Australobustus, the, magnans, right, all, whatever hominid species were here, 500,000, 750,000, 1 million years ago, were the humanoids that were running around, and they were here with those species and all the animals and everything else for probably around, 50, 75,000, maybe as much as 100,000 years by themselves. Right, Earth years. In their time span, it would have been, like 50 or 75 or maybe 100 years. Right? What, dude? Huh? You want to go outside? Is that it? You and Sissy? Or is Sissy sleeping? Right? Alright. You want to go, Sissy? Come on. You want to go side? You want to go side? No? Okay. But anyways, right, so she had a huge jump start, you know what I'm saying, on the genetic manipulation, right, before the heroes even revolted, right, you know what I'm saying? Right? Because, some of them obviously, especially the minor ones, I mean, you know what I'm saying, they had to have had some type of injuries and issues and all kinds of stuff, your bumps and scrapes and this and that, whatever, that she had to deal with, that she had, and it gave her opportunities to study, you know what I'm saying, their healthcare, right, in a different environment, an environment with, with a different gravity, pull and all that other stuff, you know what I'm saying, and so she needed, buildings, because she had equipment. I know that she did. I know that they did. They took everything with them. You know that, come on, you wouldn't leave anything behind, no, right? You know what I'm saying? So she needed places, she needed a solid place, a lab, you know what I'm saying, medical facilities, right, you know what I'm saying, all this stuff, built for her while they were here. You know what I'm saying? Now remember, I said that they didn't come here to colonize. They came here on a research and mission, right, and a gathering mission to gather the ores and the metals that they needed for their reactors back home to fix their atmosphere, right? Those are the research and the adaptation to this planet was not the primary goal, right? You know what I'm saying? It was the ore and the minerals and stuff like that. That's why the Earth is broken down into sections. You know what I'm saying? Because remember the breakdown. Enlil was Lord of the sky. Enki was Lord of the water and the earth, right? So they both had a different sphere. Enki chose the western sphere, South America, right? Basically for his base of operations. And so Nag Saad went with him, because she was his sister, his real sister. Enlil was only the half brother, right? She was his real sister, so she chose to go with him. You know what I'm saying? Because they all knew before, when Annie, while he was sitting up there on his boat, you know what I'm saying? They were having all these staff meetings and all that stuff. They all knew that they were the possibility of them being there for thousands and hundreds of thousands of years, right? Was a real possibility, right? While gathering the ores and the minerals from the Abzu, right? So Andrew signed off on all this stuff, said, yeah, okay, you guys do whatever you want. Enki, you're in charge of the planet. And I got you right here, you and me, because Enlil was the one that was going to make all the money and the treasure and the fame and the glory for Andrew. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep in context. They were a family, so they still have family issues going on with each other, right? It's just like you and your brothers and sisters and cousins and homies, right? Right? And this whole mission, right, was based on the fact that Andrew made all these promises back home to fix the atmosphere, and that's why the people voted to make him king and kicked Homeboy out. Right? You know what I'm saying? So, in Bolivia and Peru and way down there and, Argentina, down, by Tierra del Fuego at the very tip of South America. Right? You know what I'm saying? And was the area that she chose for her laboratories and her medical buildings and all of her stuff, Machu Picchu, all of that stuff, you know what I'm saying, right, it's constructed in such a precise and a precisionally scaled way, you know what I'm saying, where humans could not, we didn't do, you know what I'm saying, none of that stuff, because we weren't there. They hadn't created us yet to do it. So the only people that were there were the indigenous tribals, you know what I'm saying, people that ran all around in that area of South America anyway, to begin with. Just like Africa, South America was indigenous population. Just like Australia, it's indigenous population. Just like North America's got indigenous population. They didn't contaminate, or excuse me, wrong word. They didn't tamper with the indigenous DNA, hominid DNA, you know what I'm saying? Right? While she was in the process of constructing her buildings and her laboratories and stuff. All of that was done by some, a large group of the construction crew of the 403 heroes. All of it. Petra, you know what I'm saying? All of the early stuff, you understand, that is absolutely precisionally made over there in Egypt, where the pyramids are. All them dudes have proved all that stuff. Down there in South Africa, in southern Africa, I should say, but South Africa, right? That's that whole part of what used to be old Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe and Mozambique and South Africa, and that part of Africa was what they called the Absi, where all the gold came from, right? You know what I'm saying? That was Enki's sphere. That was where he lived at. His offices and buildings and all that stuff was down there in Absi. And Nag Saad had the whole southern end of South America for her area, right? Where India, all the way around the other side of the world, had all of, Mesopotamia and blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? Right? And the 403 heroes lived in Petra. You know what I'm saying? Right? Because Petra is this great big, huge complex that's as big as Angkor Wat over there in Indonesia, Malaysia, wherever it is. You know what I'm saying? Korea. I just know where it is. You know what I'm saying? But Petra is bigger. And there are way more, hundreds of buildings, almost thousands of buildings and stuff that are built on a big, large scale that humans would never build that big. Right? And it's all precision, machine-made cuts in the rocks, blah, angles, and this and that, remember, apartments and buildings. We don't get to see the interior of it. We only get to see the base of it because, Lebanon, right, the government is like, oh, heck no, we ain't letting no, infidels in here. I don't blame them. But they hold one of the key sites, of the Annunaki while they were here before the genetic engineering of the humans. Right? You understand? Right? And throughout the whole entire time, Nag Saad was in South Peru and Bolivia and, all these places doing all of her studies and all of her things, right? She never once altered or tampered with the indigenous DNA, in the surrounding area. That's why, to this very day, there's still tribes and Indians and, little, Mexicans and Guatemalans and all, that's why, to this very day, they are still, true to their DNA strand. Right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's only us, those of us that come from the hybrid strand, you know what I'm saying, that they are alien to this planet. Right? Everywhere else on this planet, there are still indigenous populations because she chose to engineer us from a specific species of hominid. Right? Probably Australopithecus. Right? What's his name? Found Lucy. Right, back in 1964 over there in, like the southern part of Africa, out there on the plains. You know what I'm saying? What the heck was his name? I can't remember. But it's 1964. Lucy was the species of hominid, right, Australopithecus, that he discovered. And that was probably, right, Nag Saad's choice for the hominid DNA that she wanted to start with. Because remember, everybody's mainstream, everybody, even some of the, really whacked out fringe people, they all say, yeah, humankind started from the cradle of civilization in Africa. There is a potential possibility for this. Because remember, she had the ability to genetically alter this DNA strand any which way she wants. So she can make us any kind of person that she wanted. But she zeroed in on a specific type of hybrid that was compatible with them, right? Because in Peru, I think it was in Bolivia, in one of the big structures in Bolivia is where actually all of the genetic engineering occurred and all of the study and the birthings and all of that stuff, right? Because she had 8 volunteer females, from the heroes, right? That volunteered to be the incubator for the whole experiment, to see if they could actually create, and right. So you gotta, like I keep saying, you gotta keep it all in context. So she had 30,000, 40,000 years after the revolt, because the revolt happened early on, right? Like they were here for probably 15, 18, 20, maybe a maximum of 25,000 years before the revolt. Right, you know what I'm saying? Because they were just in they were both in the process of mining because they had the capability of all living on the ship. You know what I'm saying? Until some of the earth structures until Nag Saad, right, determined that they could adapt. You know what I'm saying? That it was okay for them to come down and build structures on the planet so that they could live down here to do their work. Right? You know what I'm saying? Right? Well, Enlil and Nanu, right, being, the greedy sons of bitches that they were, you know what I'm saying? They said, well, okay, well, we can send down a little crew and they can start digging. We need this stuff bad. We got to get it now. You know what I'm saying? Right? We need to make sure, while you're doing all your testing stuff, we got to do all our testing stuff, make sure we got the pure shit. Right? So, that small group of the heroes that came down originally with Nag Saad and Enki, you know what I'm saying, and some of the officers, and the Agigi that were flying everything all over the place, you know what I'm saying, some of those guys were the ones that died, you know what I'm saying, that caused the revolt. Right? You know what I'm saying? They weren't so much revolting against Nag Saad and the idea of being down on the planet. They were revolting against the idea of Enlil saying, well, hey, that's the price we got to pay to get this shit fixed. You know what I'm saying? They were revolting just like it's like programmed interest. I was raised, you know what I'm saying, to question authority no matter what. And me, I ask questions about everything. And I don't care who you are. Right? You know saying? The heroes were questioning Enlil's authority, you know what I'm saying, to keep going at the pace they were going, and do the math, bro. There was only 403 of them. A couple of them died already, right? You know what I'm saying? But the ones that were doing all the digging and the mining and shit were the ones that had the highest risk category, you know what I'm saying, for life, for catastrophic life failure, right? So she had, like I said, the jumpstart gave her the ability that when they all voted and they all said, okay, yeah, we'll do this. We'll make some helpers. You know what I'm saying? Right? She didn't need any more of their DNA. Right? Because, think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like the first one that they made, the first Adamu, you know what I'm saying? It didn't have any genitalia and it was very limited in its brain capacity. You know what I'm saying? Right? But it was a human. Right? You know what I'm saying? They had like 5,000 years, you know what I'm saying, of time to breed that. And since to create the being and then breed it to see, if it's going to last or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then they had like about another 5,000 years to do the second one. The one they gave the genitalia to, but it still had limited thinking capacity, limited brain. You know what I'm saying? And both of these two, right, gave her the data and the knowledge, you know what I'm saying, right, to create the atom, right? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? The human, Homo sapien. Right? You know what I'm saying? And she had like another maybe 5,000 years, right, to develop that one and to breed it, you know what I'm saying? And to make it into the hybrid, to do the adjustings and all that stuff, to make it into the hybrid that was compatible with their you know what I'm saying? Like in the space movies, a human and a Chirillian, super blonde, you know what I'm saying? Kind of stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? Because remember, the objective wasn't to colonize, but the objective was to make it as easy as they possibly could for themselves, you know what I'm saying, in order to get what they needed and go, you know what I'm saying, right? Because these people, these 439 souls, you know what I'm saying, held, right, the entire life of their home planet in their hands, right? They could give a rat's tootie about us, the humans. In fact, in the end, you know what I'm saying, Enlil made the decision to fucking wipe us all out when the flood didn't, you know what I'm saying, right? By dropping the bombs over there in the Middle East and all that stuff. That's what all that evidence is. It's of the war of the gods in heaven, right? Because Enki and Nag Saad, you know what I'm saying, and the cousin, they stayed here. After Anu and Enlil, after the boat was loaded, you know what I'm saying, and everything was picked back up off the planet that they were taking with them, you know what I'm saying? Enki, Nag Saad, and the cousin stayed. And, a couple, 2, 3 other heroes, right, in the Chronicles. If you read all of the Chronicles, you read all of Zechariah's Sitchin, if you read all of the actual book of Enki, if you read all of the Sumerian tablets that have been released, you know what I'm saying, and you do, and you know, if you're as deep into it, you know what I'm saying, right, and you can open your own 2 eyes and look around you with all of the questionable photographic and videography evidence, you know what I'm saying, you can just, and you know how to discern, Noah. You can see this, you can feel, right, the potentiality for the story that I'm telling, right? You know what I'm saying? You're a hybrid, Noah. you're Mexican, homeboy. You know what I'm saying? But you still have hybrid DNA, right? It's a potentiality for hybrid. It's just like the people to the north, right? You know what I'm saying? The Viking peoples. You know what I'm saying? They're and you know the Finns and the Norwegians. You know what I'm saying? The Danes, right? All of the Norse people. You know what I'm saying? Are one race, right? They're hybrids. It's just like all of the Syrian people over there in Syria. You know what I'm saying? Are one race. But they're still a hybrid. Because remember, there was 13 tribes. Not all of them were over there in the Holy Land, bro. There was... oh, excuse me. There were 2 tribes that originated from the other side of the planet. Alright? Right? And these tribes went later on to found their own major civilizations, you know, way back in the day when there was, you know, how did they just make the technology to build this gigantic stone basalt block pyramid in the middle of the jungle that points directly to the stars and the suns, right? And there's meteorological data that's been continued for thousands of years here, but yet humanity didn't really, you know, start until, you know, 3,000 years ago. But these guys got star charts that go back 40, 50, 80,000 years. Right, that's like before the last ice age, and then the one before it. They got some star charts from that far away. Right, you know, my fellow professors and associates, we tend to not believe this stuff here because it's impossible for human beings. Well, we just barely found a guy. We dug him out of the ice the other day. You know what I'm saying? And we did a DNA scan and a hair test, and we sucked out some of his pee, and we tested him, and he's only 5,500 years old. And the mummies are only 3,800 years old. How in the hell can these Indians down here in the jungle, right, be counting star charts to go back 127,000 years? The Mayan calendar, you know what it is. I told you what it was. Right? The Mayan calendar counts the years, the epochs of the zodiac. The Mayan calendar is actually a star chart. Right? And what it counted, the epoch that it counted, you remember back in the 70s, right? The Age of Aquarius, remember that song? I know you listen to it because it's one of the oldies on the list that the homies listen to at the car shows, right? You understand? The Mayan calendar, right, clocked the 21,000 years of the epoch of Aquarius, right? And that's why it ends in 20-something, 2021, 2012, 2012. Right? Because from 2012 onward for the next 21,000 years, we are into the next epoch of the zodiac. And now, the dawn age of Aquarius. See, we're now coming into Aquarius. Right? So that counted the epoch before us in the zodiac. Right? That's what the Mayan calendar really does. And you know this, I told you that. You understand? See, so, and there's no telling. That could have been one of the Annunaki, could have been one of the 403 heroes. It could have been his little piece of graffiti, bro, with his little laser machine while he was carving some shit out over there for Nag Saad, and he's working. That could have been, oh yeah, check this out, man. Hey bro, watch, I'm gonna carve this shit right here on this rock. You remember the story I used to tell about Bob and Dave, the 2 cavemen? Right? That's there is a 50-50 chance that the potentiality for that stone, that huge historical piece of, mankind, right, to be a doodle, right, from these two Annunaki guys with a laser cutter. It could be, right? You know what I'm saying? Because there's evidence everywhere, all over the planet, of all kinds of crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't fit in with any sort of religious, or spiritual kind of stuff. But it's purely mathematical, right? In its makeup. You know what I'm saying? Oh, wow. How long is this video? 25 minutes. Woo! That's been a good read. And I'm the only one here. Mom and Teresa went to church. And my lighter's burning out. That sucks. But anyways, to cap it all out, let's close the circle. Right? The ability for Nag Saad, to have her own area. With her own, because she was the chief medical officer. She had her little crew, at least 4 or 5, people with her, right? Plus, a couple of, she had to have some of the heroes assigned to her to, move stuff around and build stuff and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Remember, I'm talking in the context of before they engineered us. You know what I'm saying? Right? When it was just them. Right? See, right, and mind you, what I'm saying, the ones that worked above ground had it way better than the ones that worked below ground, right, during this time frame. You know what I'm saying? Right? And the Agigi, they all over with their little word gigs, doing this, doing that. You know what I'm saying? Right? So, I just had an idea, I'm going to end right here. Right, because this one's half hour long, and I'm going to continue the next one with the explanation of the Abzu and Enki. You ready, Noah?